one thing to say. People never think someone with my body type can dance, let alone be a working professional dancer.
Yes, I'm on my, yes, I'm on my, I'm so, yes, I am so, I'm on my.
No matter how many jobs I book, they'll never take me seriously because I'm fat. Proving people wrong is my favorite hobby.
I saw so many videos, and then I saw yours, and I was like, oh yeah, I love her. I love everything she stands for.
Never let anyone dictate your life. If I inspire one person from this video, then all the hate I'm sure I'm gonna get will be worth it. Well, I'm hashtag breaking the stereotype, and no one's gonna stop me. If you love it, do it. It's as simple as that.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Diamond Rivera of the Live Discussions with Diamond podcast, and this is episode 146. And what you just saw was a short visual from our special guest today. We're taking it all the way to the West Coast. And before we get started, this episode is sponsored by Bachata Radio, where you can listen to this interview in high quality, as well as other streaming platforms. And today, people, we have a person that is not only iconic, not only is revolutionary, not only inspiring, but honestly is an amazing, amazing human being. From watching her visuals for so many years and seeing how far she's come, whether it's the mainstream or whether it's your local dance class, she truly is an artist beyond her years. And we have on the program today the one and only Amanda LaCount.
Oh my gosh, that intro. Hyping you up.
Yes, I don't even have a piece of paper here, just talking to you. And honestly, Amanda, as we've talked as well privately, I thank you so much for being on this platform because, like I told you, having this platform is so meaningful for me as an artist because for so many years, our stories are told through a 1, 2, 3 minute visual or performance we've had. And not many people get to understand who we are as people, as human beings. So having a platform by artists like myself, having artists like you that have done so much, it definitely is an honor having you here.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here and I'm excited to talk to you.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, whether it's seeing you on America's Got Talent, whether it's seeing you on a Katy Perry film, whether it's even seeing you in an American Eagle campaign, just realizing too, your hashtag breaking the stereotype truly is meaningful because realizing 2021, the same normals 10 years ago are not the same normals now.
Whatever normal means.
I mean, but nowadays, what is normal? We're in a new normal still as we speak, but having you on is important because when people ask, give us the examples of people that are breaking boundaries, breaking stereotypes, pushing forward the culture, I think of people like you because, you also as a working professional deal with the same hardships like many other people, but realizing too, as well as celebrating your success is one thing, but also celebrating your journey as a human being throughout this world is another because we understand the entertainment world, as harsh as it is, competitive as it is, it can be rewarding, but it can also be a lot of lessons learned. So I mean, I definitely think today we'll get a little bit of a glimpse of really who Amanda is, not just on the stage, but beyond the stage.
Nice. I'm excited.
So, as I start every episode, Amanda, I love kind of taking it back, taking the fact before the stages, before the cameras, and having an understanding of who the artist is before it all. So, Amanda, kind of give us an understanding of who Amanda LaCount is before dance.
Ooh, who Amanda LaCount is before dance. It's so hard because obviously I think most dancers will say this. Dance is such a huge part of our lives.
Yes.
But it's also important to have balance. I think, having those friends outside of the dance world and having those hobbies or things that you can enjoy that kind of take you out of that. Just because, like you said, the dance world can kind of be a lot sometimes and very stressful, and sometimes it can really affect your confidence and self-esteem. But I think mainly who I am without dance is just I rely a lot on my friends and family. I think I really take a lot of importance with that. Or I put a lot of importance on that, like who I'm around.
Yes.
Because that's really important. And I think that's partly why I have the career that I do. I have the most supportive people around me, but also people that will be honest, which sometimes hurts, but at the end of the day, it's the best. You want the truth, So I have people that will hold me accountable, that will tell me if I did terrible or if I did amazing. But they're also just the most supportive people that will be there for me if I need them always. And I think that's what I focus on besides dance, is just who I surround myself with, and if they're a positive influence, and if they're worth spending my time with. That sounds kind of mean, but just
sounds honest. It sounds honest.
With who you surround yourself with, because that will change the course of your life. Who you surround yourself with and what kind of people they are, and if they're good people, or if they're going to push you and support you, that'll make all the difference.
Absolutely. I mean, it is true to have that right circle around you, especially as knowing and kind of looking deep into your story of your upbringing in Colorado, where you had your time, of course, in competitive figure skating, or have you done gymnastics? I think, like you said, dance has always been a part of your life, but also realizing the competitive nature which comes into sports. It's always been there in some form of capacity, but also realizing a person like yourself that focused, and also as they got older saw what their vision was, because we realize too there are adults in their 30s and 40s still trying to understand what they're about, what they love, what they want to do. And for me, realizing as well as an artist, I also had to understand all of the sacrifices I was going to make, all of the birthday parties I was going to miss, the dates I was going to miss, the friendly just gatherings I was going to miss because I had rehearsal. I had a show. And, it's never easy, but the reward is worth it. So, a question I have then is, how was that moment of you realizing, growing older? I believe this was your teens, that, you were dancing, of course, but you made that decision to move to LA. What was that moment like for you?
Yeah. So like you said, originally I'm from Colorado, which is very different than Los Angeles, very, very different. And I knew that I loved dance so much. Like, it was all I wanted to do for my entire life. But when I really started taking it seriously and kind of started to get in the mindset of, I want to do this professionally, I want to do this as my job, was probably when I was around like 10 or 11. And then I moved to LA when I was 13, about to turn 14.
Wow.
And again, kind of going back to the people I have around me, I was really lucky to have a mom who was super supportive, like so on board. Like, I told her, hey, I kind of want to move to LA so I can, pursue this. And she was like, okay, let's try to figure it out. Let's see how we can do this. I feel like a lot of parents, and I'm not judging other parents because I completely understand it's a big risk and it's a lot. But I know a lot of parents would have been like, no, like 18 and maybe then. And again, totally understandable. It's a big risk, but I was really lucky to have that parent and supporter who was like, okay, let's take it. If you're going to work hard and you think you can do it, then let's do it. And so literally within like 6 months, I was actually supposed to go a little bit earlier than I did, but I backed out because I was scared. And I was like, I don't want to miss my friends. And I was going to a really, really nice art school in Colorado that is one of the best in the country. And so once you leave, you can't come back. And so I was just scared that I was going to regret it and like just second guessing it. And then I ended up moving like 6-7 months later and loving it. So kind of wish I went earlier, but it's okay. You can't look back and regret things now. But it really was on a whim, and it was kind of just, I was coming out to LA every once in a while, and I had been to LA before, and I was dancing on a crew then before I moved out. And so I was constantly coming to California and back and California and back. And once I moved, the crew didn't exist, I don't think. So I didn't move for that, but I just had more experience in LA, and I kind of got the gist of what it would be like to live in LA and what it'd be like to work and the people I'd be around. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the environment because it's not for everyone, but it's very competitive, and it's very, it inspires me to do my best pretty much, and it's not for everyone because it's very, stressful, but I think it's made me the best dancer I can be so far. I'm not done growing, but for now, it's made me the best I can be. And yeah, I just decided to move to LA mainly because I know a lot of people move when they're 18 to come out to LA to start. And I kind of wanted to get that head start so I could know the teachers, know the dancers around me. So when I turn 18 and all my other 18-year-olds come, I've already kind of gotten a name. I've been here for a little bit and I'm adjusted. Yeah.
That's interesting because I have to give a big shout out to your mom because that moment of your mom trusting you, because usually it's, trust what the parents say, whatever the parent says goes, but realizing your mom took a trust in you and saying she saw the potential in your career. She saw the potential in your passion, your vision, and said, hey, let's do it. Let's see how it works. I mean, because like you said, coming from Colorado all the way to LA is a huge shift. And like you said, 13, 14 years old. So for me as well, dancing in New York City, being very competitive, whether it's dance classes, you meet new people. And like you said, you rather have a head start because LA especially is extremely competitive, and especially the dance world, because you have so many dance schools. But I think we've also realized over time how social media impacted the dancing life, because one video at Millennium could skyrocket 2 million views at one point. So a question I have is, making that trip to LA at 13, 14, what were those moments like? Going into your first classes, kind of like you said, getting your feet wet.
Oh, yeah. It was definitely intimidating when I first started going to classes, because in Colorado, not that I was the best dancer by any means at all, but I was kind of known for hip hop. That was kind of like my thing. Again, probably not the best in Colorado, but just people kind of knew me for that. And I would get some praise for my hip hop back in Colorado. And then coming to LA, everyone is level 100. And I was still at like level 10. So in no way was I like, oh, I'm gonna kill this. They're not ready for me. I definitely wasn't like that because I knew that I wasn't anywhere near the best in LA. But it was just really intimidating because I came from an environment where it was a little bit more like, oh, Amanda's the hip hop person. Like, she's so good. Look at Amanda go. And then it came down to like I was dancing next to people who are on tour with like the best artists in the world. And I'm like, whoa, so this is what good looks like. Like, I'm not even close. So it was very intimidating. But again, it put me in that environment to really, really push myself and to grow and just work as hard as I can. But it was really intimidating the first couple years. And then I slowly started to get used to it, started to build connections with these choreographers, friendships. But yeah, if I had to describe it, I would just say intimidating for sure.
And also, like you said, just with the multitude of dancers in LA, how competitive it is, it also challenges you. I think really those challenges make you a better dancer. So my question to you now is, like you said, over the years, you began to build relationships, friendships with these choreographers that you're seeing mainly every week or maybe every other day, depending on your schedule. When was the moment that you kind of felt things clicked? Like, all right, now I'm really understanding, because, choreographers have so many different, styles. Was there a moment for you that said, okay, now I'm really getting the hang of this kind of lifestyle?
I feel like there's almost different kinds of clicks when it happened for me. I think there's been like different ones along the way. Yeah. I think maybe 2017, I kind of felt a little bit more comfortable and I was starting to do a little more. I did Dancing with the Stars and The Voice, and those were kind of the first like bigger, real professional jobs I did. And I was like, okay, something's happening. We're building momentum. I'm getting there. And then 2019 was a really probably the biggest year I've had so far to date, because obviously 2020 was nothing happening, and then we're only halfway through 2021, and the pandemic's coming back. So, So 2019 was probably the biggest year I've had, and that was super exciting for me. I got to do some stuff that was like things I never like even thought I would do. I got to do an international campaign with Dove. I performed at Coachella with Lizzo. I did the Rihanna Savage Fenty show with Paris Goebel, who is a choreographer I've looked up to since I was like 10. She signed my shoes at Broadway Dance Center when I was literally like 9. I need to find them because I think I have them. But I did Little Mermaid live, and I was singing as a mermaid. Like, I just did so many things that I would have never thought I'd be able to do. And so that year was just a year where I realized, you know, you can do this. Like, look at all the things you're doing. Like, you know, it was just eye-opening because, you know, in LA, we're constantly just pushing ourselves and working so hard to get to that point. Yes. And in 2019, I realized, I was like, Amanda, like, you're kind of not like at the point where I'm like, you know, debating which world tours do I want to go on because I booked all of them, you know, not there yet, but just that was the year for the first time where I was doing so many different things, and I was constantly auditioning and booking these amazing jobs, and I just felt the momentum, and I was like, wow, I think you've really reached that point where you're a real professional dancer now, and you know, you're a threat to other people, and you're being real, like you're really successful. And so that year was really exciting. And then even this year, just in a different way, like I said, I think there's different kind of clicks, you could say, but just in a different way, I feel like I'm training with people that inspire me, that motivate me, that are pushing me, that I wasn't training with, you know, 2019. I'm trying new choreographers that are, again, pushing me, and maybe it's, what's the word? It's kind of discouraging now. But they're making me the best dancer I can be, the most versatile, the most diverse, the most, you know, and that's super important. And just the people I'm surrounding myself with, I'm really happy with that. And they're not only making me a better dancer, but also a better person. And that's super, super important. So I really value that. But this year has been pretty exciting too. And I'm waiting to find out, like literally this week, if I booked a super exciting job, but I can't talk about it. But
of course.
I'm really hopeful. So hopefully that happens, and that would be amazing.
We're crossing our fingers here as well. And realizing too, like you said, the importance of, you know, understanding the value of you, because like you said, you put so much hard work into it. And I've heard from many artists from Los Angeles, but the California area especially, is that being an actor, being an artist is filled with a lot of rewards, but also as a lot of rejection. Understanding so many auditions you're going on, they almost have the casting for you, but when you don't get it, it's like, what am I doing wrong? But I think something that was really crucial that I saw was that moment that Katy Perry talked to you and said, when I looked at everyone else, but when I saw you. And that right there was a moment, because I understand what that means of, you know, anyone can do that choreography, but no one can do it like you. And that's something that separates, because with so many hip hop dancers, it's really hard to find individuality. It's really hard to find your niche, because again, the hundreds of videos I've seen with choreographers, and then they have their dancers who are there dancing. A lot of times you're trying to figure out what dancer is hitting that mark. And a person that I love seeing work is Brian Friedman.
Oh,
yes.
Of course.
Yes. Yeah. But that was also a point when I saw Brian then working with you and seeing that connection. That's something I've always glad to have you on this platform of, give me an understanding of what it's like working with an individual like Brian Friedman.
Oh my gosh. So lucky to have the friendship and just relationship I have with him. He's one of the most, I mean, he's a world-renowned choreographer, and he's probably one of the biggest, most well-known names in the dance world, hands down. He's done so many iconic choreographies, and he's just an amazing person. And I know that when I moved to LA, he was definitely one of the main choreographers that I was intimidated by. He's very intimidating, but he's one of those people where he's intimidating, but once you talk to him outside of dance class, he's the sweetest person. He just takes dance very seriously, and he wants you to be your best. But that's what you need. You know, you can't have someone being nice to you all the time, because you're not going to grow as fast. You know, you'd rather have someone honest that maybe hurts your feelings a little bit, but you grow and you become the best dancer. And that's what Brian is all about. And I've been able to work with him so many times. I've been an assistant at his convention in 2019, and I really think I owe a lot of my dance ability and just like my improvement as a dancer to him and his classes. They definitely pushed me, and I used to not be able to do his choreo when I first moved here, and even now sometimes it's still a struggle, but I can at least, do it and get through it and make it look decent. So I think I owe a lot of my just success as a dancer to him, and he really supported me when not a lot of choreographers did. He was supporting me back in 2017 when I really wasn't doing much. And I definitely wasn't the best dancer by any means. I've improved a lot since then, but he's just a super supportive person, and I'm just so lucky to work with him. And I forget sometimes how big of a name he is. He's not just, oh, I'm going to Brian's class, like, oh, I love you, Brian. Like, he's Brian Friedman.
Yes.
And that's a big deal. And I'm very lucky to be so close with him and have the opportunity to dance with him and so often.
Absolutely. I mean, people like Brian Friedman, I believe Brian was one of the backup dancers for Britney.
Yep, and he choreographed some of her stuff.
And just seeing that and understanding when artists or dancers like us are around artists and dancers like that, there's a revering moment. There is like, hey, this person has put in so much work that I know I have to give them 110% at this rehearsal. And, so for me, and something you also touched on really quick was about the appreciation from other dancers or other choreographers, how Brian really approached you differently. So kind of give us an understanding, because I understand kind of where that's going. And I think also it ties into really breaking the stereotype. Kind of give us an understanding of what those moments were like, really dancing in LA, like the hardships that go along with that.
Yeah, dancing in LA is really difficult. You definitely have to have thick skin and like a really strong mind to get through it, because it's constantly beating you down and telling you, no, you're not good enough, you're not this enough, you're not this enough, like you're just not enough. And that can be really damaging, obviously, and I totally get that. But for me in LA, it was just hard to kind of get choreographers to get past my appearance, which, first of all, there's nothing to get past. There's nothing wrong, first of all. But to them, they're not used to seeing someone like me in their class or to trying to approach their choreography. They weren't used to it, and so they kind of didn't know what to do with me. I feel like they're like, I don't know what to do. And Brian, I don't think he ever even thought about what I looked like. I really don't. I think he's all about the dancing. And if you're a good dancer, you're a good dancer. And that's it. It doesn't matter tall, short, skinny, big. It doesn't matter to him. And it shouldn't matter to anyone. And I just think what really set him apart from other choreographers for me, and as far as like noticing me and really helping me grow and becoming a mentor, was he saw my potential.
Yes.
Was I the best dancer? No, I'm still not, of course, but he could see my passion, and he could see my drive and the potential I had. And that's why I think he was so supportive of me and still is. And that's why I grew so much from his classes, is because he pushed me and he saw my potential and wanted to see me reach that. And yeah, I think he's just different from a lot of choreographers I've taken from. And I just think he doesn't make assumptions, and he doesn't judge anyone until they see their dancing. And that's how it should be. Like, a dance class, like, and I just, he's amazing. He's amazing.
I definitely appreciate that. So understanding now throughout your years of, like you said, that grinding period, going to classes, then, later on going to auditions and actually getting those roles that you loved and you seeked and you searched for, what was now the reception for you? Kind of now you're seeing yourself on TV. Now you're seeing yourself on campaigns. What was the reception now like, kind of coming back home, and what was that like for you?
Yeah. As far as coming back home, it's really funny because I have a pretty supportive family, but they don't quite understand like the dance world and just the entertainment industry, but they're supportive. I want to get that across. They're supportive of me and they're happy for me, but they just don't quite get it. I'm like, oh guys, like I'm assisting, Brian Freeman, who choreographed for Britney Spears. They're like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
But they don't quite get, how big of a deal that is,
Mhm.
but they try their best. But it's really funny because like my sister, especially, like she'll always brag about, oh, my sister did this. My sister, look at my sister on this, on the TV. Look at this. But then like she won't even tell me congratulations. She'll tell all her friends,
All her friends that her sister was on something, but when she sees you, it's more like, oh, hey.
Oh yeah, that's my sister. Yeah, whatever, but they're supportive, but it's always super funny. And yeah, it's different because I'm the only one that's really in the creative arts world. All of my other siblings are doing, one of them's a doctor, one of them is like an engineer, one is three of my siblings have doctorates. One's a cheerleading coach. So we're kind of all over the place, but I'm kind of the only one, I guess, besides cheer-ish that really does arts.
Yes.
And so they're not used to that, but they try to be really supportive, and I'm really lucky that they, try.
Hey, absolutely. But think about this. Having you on this platform means a lot because besides being a dancer, understanding the family aspect, understanding is that a lot of times in our families, whether we're in the arts, a lot of times our siblings and older siblings, they're probably in a whole different field. And people are not going to always understand what we do. They have their appreciation, but in their own way. But hey, that's okay. Rather be, not fully understanding everything, but, seeing for what it is and seeing that you love it, seeing that it's successful for you and you're doing what you have to do. So a question I have now for you is, seeing really how your career has come along so far. And then, like you said, now 2020 was a huge just change for all of us in the entertainment industry. How did that period, really the last year, was that kind of a period of self-reflection? How did you really adapt to everything that was going on?
Yeah, I mean, last year was crazy for everyone. And I definitely think there were pros and cons. I don't think it was all bad, and it definitely wasn't all good. So it was kind of a mix. But I think the first half, I kind of like, what did I do? I was kind of taking it to relax. I was like, oh, this is nice, until it lasted, a year and a half. And then it was too much. But for the first month or two, I was like, okay, this is kind of nice. Like I have time to really sit down and think and try new things and, spend time with my mom. We quarantined together, and just it was kind of a nice time to relax because as dancers we're constantly going. So it was nice to take a break. But then I kind of got antsy, and I was like, okay, I'm done now with the break. I'm done. And then luckily I did have AGT that came out in the middle of the pandemic. So that came out in summer 2020. So I kind of had that a little bit to at least have something happening,
Yeah.
So that was an interesting experience. And then after that, I really just tried to focus on what I want to do, maybe coming back. And I think my mindset changed. Like the way I take class now, the classes I take now are very different than what I was doing before the pandemic, but I think in the best way. As a dancer, when you first move to LA, I feel like it's kind of normal to be like, okay, I'm going to take every single class, every single one, taking 8 a day. And that was very much what I was doing. And now, not that it's no way that I think I don't have to train anymore. You never stop training as a dancer. Yeah. You never reach the point where you're like, oh, I don't have to train. No, that doesn't exist. But I think I've reached the point where I can be a little bit more selective with the teachers that I take and who I'm giving my energy to and who I think I can truly learn from and grow from. So I can be a little bit more selective. And so I've started taking teachers that I think either push me out of my comfort zone or challenge me, or people that I just respect and admire. Like I've just been a little bit more picky instead of I'm going to take every class I can, And there is nothing wrong with that. I highly recommend doing that the first couple of years you move to LA or New York or anywhere, because I think it did help me grow super fast. But I think it's also important to take the quality classes. It's not quantity, it's quality. And now I feel personally, just for me as a dancer and the dancer I am, I'm taking quality classes. Yes. And I think that's helped me a lot. And I think the dancer I was before the pandemic is very different than the dancer I am now, but in the best way, in my opinion. Like I watch videos from now and videos from, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and I'm like, oh, I love the way I'm dancing now, like more than I was then. So I think I'm taking the right route for me personally. And I think everyone's, you know, career and who they take is going to be different because everyone dances different and wants different things. But for me, it's worked out really well. And I just think my mindset changed too.
Yeah, and I appreciate that because I've talked to many artists, and for them, it's really a time for self-reflection, understanding what's important, understanding what projects now they should be a part of. Because again, when the entertainment world kind of came back up and it's flourishing slowly again, realizing now maybe the same artists that we knew, same dancers are no longer around. They found another avenue. And so I mean, our entertainment world is a lot more different. A lot more, you know, you're seeing masks in videos now.
Yeah.
It's a normal. I mean, videos I've seen of you with a mask, without a mask, for me, I appreciate the artistry, but also too, I appreciate the reasoning of understanding how important it is for us to be safe, because the dancing world is so key. Because for me on this platform, I've told many people, I believe in safety. I believe, especially in our dance world where this virus can just hurt us the most, to be the examples of helping push safety forward as a priority first.
Yes.
Because realizing I've also known dancers that are no longer here because of this. So as a person with a platform, with a voice, with an opportunity to talk like artists like you, I have to tell you, thank you. Because a simple video you do means so much, not just to me, but thousands of other people.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, thank you, but I feel like I'm not doing anything special. That should be the bare minimum. You know what I mean? Like, caring about other people's safety is the bare minimum you can do. I think wearing a mask, is it a little bit annoying? Yeah. But would I rather save people around me and value their health over, oh, I don't want to wear a mask in the video, I'm going to care more about their health. Like, that's way more important. And honestly, I want to point this out. And this isn't like shading anyone at all.
No.
If you're a good dancer, you'll be just as good with a mask.
Thank you.
You shouldn't need this.
Yes.
To sell it. You know, your body should give the emotion, you know? And if you can't sell it with just your eyes and your body, then you might want to work on that.
Yes, thank
and
you.
I'm not saying I'm a pro, but just saying, you know, the mask shouldn't make or break you.
Thank you. I mean, but also too, it's interesting that you said that about just facial expression, because that's one thing as an artist like me for many years, that's my biggest pet peeve with dancers was I saw you do the choreography, but you're not feeling it. You're giving me all of the counts, all of the markings, but you're not giving me everything. You're not giving me life, as they say. And, you know, for me, realizing artists like you that are really one of a kind, because you've not only found the niche, but you found your way. You found a moral support system of people that are going to guide you the right way, because it's very easy in the entertainment world to go in a whole different direction and follow the wrong crowd, and then you're kind of stuck back at square one. Realizing those auditions that you do, those are relationships you're building with directors, because you never know when an opportunity comes if that person's going to be there. You know, I tell
it's
people,
actually funny you talk about that, because I don't think it's how I got the Katy Perry video, but it's just kind of to speak on, you know, everything's intertwined in LA and people don't realize that. I did an audition when I was like 15, 16 for Kids Bop. Kids Bop.
Oh my God, please.
And I auditioned for dancing and singing. You know, I wasn't doing anything back then. And so Kids Bop audition, I was like, yeah, sure. And so I went to that. I didn't get it, which was fine. And then the Katy Perry video happened and I was on set and two guys come up to me. And they're like, oh, hey, like, we saw you, you auditioned for the Kids Bop thing, right? Like, we love you. Or like, we're so happy to see you here or something. And it was just crazy, because it just showed like everything, like the people that work on one thing, they don't just work on the one thing, you know? And so that's just kind of an example of how you never know where you'll bump into someone else from something else. And like, you know what I mean? It was just kind of fun.
Yeah, because the things you do, but also the things you say, can also have an impact on your career. Because I've met many artists that one moment deterred them from many opportunities afterwards. So when I tell people, a lot of my friends in the industry in LA, even people that have done America's Got Talent, friends of mine, and Emily, who are like the salsa dancers dancing really fast, talking with them and them telling me the ropes of how it is that, and I've also auditioned for America's Got Talent years ago in Manhattan, and I understood, oh, this isn't like, there's so many producers and people you have to go through before you even get to the show. I think that's a big misconception. People think when you see the video of the audition, that's just the first one. No, there's many. And knowing really how many producers have different ideas of what they want to see, that's something. Because then seeing your video on America's Got Talent was so special because I saw the genuineness, but realizing too how much you put yourself out there for the world. I mean, and at least before we get into our last segment called The Randoms is, you know, from all of the experiences you've had throughout your career and still now, what have really been some of the biggest lessons that you've learned?
Whew. Oh my gosh. There's so many. Yeah, I mean, I would say who you are as a person is just as important as who you are as a dancer. I think that's very important. I know plenty of dancers who are amazing, and like I can't take that away from them, but they're not great people, or they're not the best people to be around, and that's going to stop you from getting a lot of stuff. Because when people are working on world tours for months and months, they want people that they get along with, that they like, that they have a good time with. You don't want to be on tour with someone who's like bringing you down or who's not a good energy, you know? And so it really matters just what kind of person you are and who you are off camera, as you could say. And also just, I mean, work hard, never get comfortable. I think a lot of people too, I see some of the biggest dancers and not that they're not amazing, because they are, but just they get comfortable. And that's when you start to go downhill, is as soon as you start to get comfortable or the slightest bit of, oh, I'm good. No, you're not. There's constantly new dancers coming. There's new artists. There's new talent. These people now are like 8 years old and better than us. So, you know, we have to keep working no matter how many jobs you book, how many artists you work for, how many tours you go on, blah, blah, how many followers you have. It doesn't matter if you're not still working hard and putting in that work. And I think I see a lot of dancers kind of get comfortable and get a little bit lazy. Yeah. And I'm not saying I'm the hardest working dancer in LA by any means. There are people doing way more than I am, but you know, I still train very hard. I put all my work in, and I realize that there's no destination in the dance world, if that makes sense. You don't climb up the ladder and then you're like, oh, I can relax. There's always more you can do. And the dance world is constantly improving and improving and improving. You just have to constantly keep training if you want to continue to work, you know? And I think that's a mistake some people make is getting comfortable.
Yeah, I definitely being comfortable and being complacent are some of the worst things people can do, especially in the arts world, because we see so many artists. There's always someone new. There's always someone better. So I let people know you might have had this great tour for these couple months, but when you come back, there's someone watching you.
Yeah,
that exact same opportunity.
Working while you were gone. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, so, but now I think it helps us bring to our last segment called The Randoms, which is about 10 questions I'm going to throw at you. They're going to be dance related, non-dance related, life related.
Okay.
All I need to know is when you are ready.
All right, I'm ready. Hopefully, I think.
All right, number one question, Amanda. If you could have one meal right now, what would it be?
Ooh, if I could have one meal right now, what would it be?
It could be from Blue Jam too, if you like.
Yeah.
See, I know.
I love Blue Jam. I would just say I can't choose anything with cheese. Literally anything. Anything with cheese in it. Cheese is my guilty pleasure. It's the best.
I love it. All right. If you could, number two, besides people like Brian, of course, and many choreographers that you've worked with, who is one choreographer right now, if you could collab with, you could just call right now and want them to come, who would it be?
Ooh, I could collab with. Oh, that's hard. There's so many good ones. And it can't be someone I've worked with before, right?
It can be. It has no problem.
Probably Paris Goebel or Brian and Scott Nicholson, who are all amazing. Brian and Scott Nicholson are amazing people, amazing dancers, choreographers. They happen to be Ariana Grande's choreographers. And then Paris Goebel is Paris Goebel. And I've worked with her before, and I'm pretty close with Brian and Scott Nicholson, and just all of them inspire me. motivate me and are just great artists and great people. So any of them, whenever I'm around them, I'm lucky to be there and just happy to be around them in that environment.
Okay. One next question is, give me a memorable moment from one of your many projects, like one moment from a gig that you had that just stays in your mind till this day.
Probably the Savage Fenty show when I did the 2019 one, and there was a section where it was all plus size people. I would say some of them were a little bit more like mid-size, but just for the sake of this, they were all plus-size dancers, including myself. It was 5 of us, and we did this really super full-out dance section, and it was just us on the stage or like dancing, and I just think it was a really powerful moment because in the dance world, we're not as respected a lot of the times, and it was just a nice moment to have that, and like both Rihanna and Paris gave us that opportunity to really shine, and I really appreciate that, and I think it touched a lot of people, and I think it inspired a lot of people. So that stays in my mind, and just that feeling, just those like 3 or 4 A counts, so short, but it definitely sticks with me. And it was just so powerful in the moment. And even watching it back, you could see how hard we were fighting and how much we wanted to show that, we're great dancers too, break the stereotype, break the stigma.
Absolutely. I love that hashtag. All right. Next question is, and I want you to answer this for me. If Amanda is not dancing, Amanda is doing blank.
Oh, if Amanda's not dancing, she's thinking about dance. That is true. But besides that, I would say she's either spending time with friends or playing with makeup or playing the piano or the ukulele or playing with my dog. Those are just some little things that I really enjoy doing.
Okay. All right. Next question is, a friend of yours wants to come to LA. Where's the first place you're taking them?
Oh, are they a dancer or not?
Dancer.
Okay. I think you have to go to Millennium. Come on. Once you live in LA, you're like, yeah, it's just Millennium. But outside of that, you're like, Red Wall. Wow.
Yes, the Red Wall, Millennium.
And I completely get it. It's iconic, and there's so much history, and so many people have trained there, and just it's amazing. And so I'd probably take them there first and get that experience. Okay.
All right. Next question. I'm actually going to give some love because I think too, who goes undervalued are the videographers.
Yeah.
Because we love Millennium, we love the different studios, but the videographers really, I think, help make the visual bring to life. Can you give me the name of a videographer that you've met over the years that really you admire?
Ooh, there's so many. I'm so lucky to have worked with so many of them. For today, I could truly say any name, but for today, I am going to say Ryan Parma, who is amazing. He does a lot of class videos, but he also does other stuff outside of that, and he's just super sweet, super kind, and his video work is really amazing.
Okay, perfect. All right, give me now, the next question is, if Amanda could have a store, what is that store's name?
Ooh, okay. I don't know if this is a store, and I don't really know the name, but I've always wanted to open a dance studio. Not anytime soon. Anytime soon. This is after I retire from dance, way later, like 20, 30 years from now. But I've always wanted to open a dance studio, and I've always wanted to open a studio that was really inclusive to everyone. And I feel like when people say inclusive, sometimes the people that get left out are people that have a disability or just disabled people. And I want to make it a place where they feel welcome because anyone can dance, anyone can dance. And I really want to make it a place where everyone feels welcome. It's literally open for everyone, all walks of life, all different kinds of people. So that's really important to me. I don't know what the name of it would be, but that's something that I definitely want to do in the future because it's a passion of mine.
Okay, perfect. All right. Next question would be, what is your favorite dancing city?
Oh, dancing city. I mean, this is a pretty basic answer, but probably LA or New York. They're a little bit different. Okay. But both of them are kind of similar in the ways where everyone is there. It's competitive. It's a little bit cutthroat. But I kind of thrive on that because I'm a person that's very competitive. So I'm like, oh, if this person's better than me, well, I'm going to be better than them.
Yes.
So just that environment has been beneficial for me. I know it's not for everyone, but for me, just the energy in both of those cities is so high and so just cutthroat and competitive. And for me, it brings out the best dancer that I can be. So I love both of them.
All right. Second before last question is, give us the meaning of breaking the stereotype.
Try to keep it short. The meaning of hashtag bringing a stereotype, which is a campaign, hashtag movement kind of thing. I created it in 2016, so it's been 5 years now, which is crazy. And it's kind of self-explanatory, but it's all about breaking the stereotype. And for me, it relates to dance and the dance world and how there's a dancer body stereotype, and there's definitely a standard that a lot of people don't fit into and are kind of discouraged from trying to be a dancer because of it. And I wanted to inspire people not only in dance though, but just in all aspects. You know, there's stereotypes for everything, sadly. And so whether you're a singer, an actress, a lawyer, a doctor, like anything, there's stereotypes for every single thing. And I just want to inspire people that even if they're kind of the underdog, or if they're getting discouraged from trying something, or they feel like they don't fit in or don't fit into that box, that doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter. You can still do it. If you're passionate enough about it and if you truly love it, you can do it, and just don't listen to what other people say. And, you know, I said this the other day and I really liked it. Because I have a lot of supporters, but obviously I have a lot of people that still don't get it, and still I get hate all the time, which is part of social media. But I said that, you know, if you're getting hate for something, then you're probably doing something important that needs to be done, you know? And so, yeah, people are going to hate on me, but I like to think that I'm making change in the dance world. Am I the only plus size dancer that's making a change? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I don't claim to be the person that's like, I'm responsible for all the inclusivity. Yeah. Like, not at all. There were dancers before me, you know, that also were fighting for it. But I think I've helped and I've contributed to it. And so I think people hate on it because they don't like to see change.
Yeah.
Something important that needs to be done. But yeah, I just created it to try to inspire people and just hopefully motivate people to do whatever they're passionate about, whether people like it or not.
Absolutely. And now it brings us to our last question, and it kind of builds on what you were talking about a little bit earlier, but it goes like this. And as you said, 20, 30, 40 plus years from now, Amanda, when you're in a different capacity when it comes to the dance world, you're probably not in it the same way. How do you want to be remembered? And everything finished?
I want to be remembered as someone who was kind and hardworking and passionate, but also someone who opened the door, I guess, or inspired people to take risks. And hopefully I can have somewhat of a legacy of being a small part of making the dance world even more diverse and inclusive, and just inspiring people like me who have always been discouraged from dance to try it and to dance and to be successful.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for doing this segment. And before we get to our closing segment, really, I want to let you know, really, from start to finish, from this episode thus far, I've learned so much about you, not just of the grit and grind that it took in the LA scene to get to where you are now, but understanding the moral support, the people that have been around you that have helped guide you positively in this world, and realizing too is that, like you said, you weren't the first person, and you probably won't be the last to really make that impact. But also realizing, I think the most important thing is the opportunities you were given, you seize those opportunities, and those opportunities became examples for people like me and many others that have dealt with those same issues growing up. Of, we almost have to dance harder, we have to dance stronger to prove a point which shouldn't have to be proven. And whether it comes to the routines, whether it comes to the costumes, whether it comes to the choreographer's direction of maybe we need modifications because we have. For me, I've always said to myself is I want to see representations of people that inspire me, people like you, people like Pretty Big Movement in New York, and many other groups and organizations that are pushing the culture forward. We're in 2021. Compared to 2010, The dance videos I see are so much different, way more creative than ever. I mean, actual videographers like actually stabilizing videos so you can see everything.
No, just on the iPhone in the mirror in the back.
Oh my God. I remember those days. Don't get me wrong. I've seen those days, but realizing too that our dance community has grown. The inclusion of the LGBTQ plus community, the inclusion of more conversations on body positivity. That's something for me I've always pushed forward. But people like me and others that are really putting our words out there and telling people these are conversations we need to have. And that's again why I created this platform. And my motto normally goes, we start the conversations that make the change. Because if we don't have these conversations, we're back at square one. Like I told you before, I admired the last live you did on Instagram with 3 other ladies talking about body positivity because it is a real issue. But also having you here means so much because seeing you on a video from you dancing 1 and 2 minutes from a choreography to now actually speaking to you, even though it's not physically, being able to just talk to you, this is a highlight for me because, again, being able to celebrate you as a person, not just as the artist, is the most important for me. And,
thank you so much.
Of course, from start to finish, I've enjoyed every moment. But at least before we do go, I would love to know if you had any last few words to myself and the audience, but also contact info on how people can see your upcoming projects.
Yeah, as far as last thing to say, this might be a little random, but I think it's important, and I think people kind of need to be reminded. I feel like a lot of people, especially with social media now, I think that's caused some damage. It's also, there's a lot of pros to it. Believe me, there's a lot of pros, and I benefit off of it. But there's also a lot of cons, and I think one of them is just constantly comparing yourself to other people and trying to fit this said beauty standard. And I just want to say, people will never be pleased. Society will never be pleased no matter what you do. And I know that's hard to hear. It's the hard truth. You will never be pleased. So there's no point in trying to constantly change yourself to fit this ever-changing beauty standard when they're always going to find something to hate about you. So you might as well be yourself, be authentic, do what you want to do, live how you want to live, look how you want to look, and be unapologetic about it. Because at least you know that if they're hating on you, at least you can go home at night and say, well, I'm being myself and I'm being authentic. And no one can take that away from me, So I'd rather be, I've said this before a lot too, but I'd rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I'm not. And so just, even though it's hard, just remember that they'll never be pleased. Society will never be pleased. They'll always find something to pick at. So just be yourself and just be authentic. And then as far as how you can find me, oh my gosh, there's so many social media platforms nowadays. Let's see. Instagram's my main one. That's kind of where I do most of my stuff. And that's just Amanda LaCount, just my name. TikTok is blowing up, I guess. And that's Amanda_LaCount. And then I have 2 YouTube channels. One of them I never post on, but it's more of a fun, content YouTube. The other one is dance. And then I do have a website, amandalaccount.com, where you can find literally anything you want to know about me and how to contact me, anything like that. I think those are the important ones.
Hey, I mean, that goes to show you're really hip on social media because I know some people still don't even know how to work Instagram. So
yeah,
you definitely have followed your path correctly. Honestly, just being able to talk to you means so much because, again, the further and further we see this representation, no longer people can say we don't see it. When we're now having these conversations, that's where resolutions come. But just seeing also the human side means so much because it's not all about the glitz and glamour. It's really, because after rehearsal, you're by yourself.
Yep.
You get them home, you have to deal with everything that comes along with it.
Yep.
So, I mean, for me, it's been an honor. It's been a blessing. And it's really been a joy to really have you on today. I know, of course, you're a busy woman. And like I tell many of my guests, I feel like this is a part 1. And I'd love to have you on in the future and catch up with you because I know you have some projects coming up in the future. So we'll definitely hope we can catch up with you. But Amanda, I thank you so much for coming on to this podcast, this platform, because again, As I say, it's a podcast for artists by artists. And, for me, for everyone that's tuning in, everyone that will be tuning in the future, really, this is a celebration of such a remarkable artist whose limit is limitless. So, for me, I thank you, Amanda, for your time and your effort. I think everyone is tuned in, everyone that will be tuning in. This has been a very, very special episode, ending out July, episode 146.
Wow.
Um,
Crazy.
Hey,
Yeah. Thank
and,
you so much.
Absolutely. And thank you all for tuning in. It's been a really special episode. I'm Diamond Rivera here with Amanda LaCount. And thank you guys for listening, for tuning in. We will see you soon and stay safe.